Chosen one. You did not arrive here by accident. This moment was scheduled in the unseen long before you pressed play. Heaven aligned your steps, your breath, your attention, because something is shifting around you right now. Anointed one, you are standing at the edge of a supernatural transfer, where what was delayed is released, where what was mocked becomes undeniable provision. What others tried to bury is becoming the very ground God is using to elevate you. As Scripture says, the wealth of the wicked is laid up for the righteous, and this is not theory, it is timing. Chosen one, prepare your heart. What you are about to hear is not information, it is activation. Chosen one, hear this slowly and let it settle in your spirit. What you are witnessing right now is not random exposure, and it is not coincidence. Heaven is allowing a structure to collapse that was never built on truth. For a long time, people felt powerful because they told a story about you that was never accurate. They bonded over misunderstanding you. They gained comfort by misrepresenting you, and without even realizing it, they built their sense of identity, unity, and pride on a version of you that did not exist. Anointed one, this is why the embarrassment is so deep. It is not just about words spoken in the past. It is about the realization that their stability depended on your distortion. As long as you were framed as the problem, they never had to examine themselves. As long as you were labeled the failure, they could pretend they were successful. And for a season, it worked. I have seen this pattern before. I have lived through moments where rooms went quiet, when truth finally showed up, where people who once spoke loudly suddenly avoided eye contact, where confidence dissolved into discomfort. And I learned something important in those moments. When truth rises, it does not argue, it simply stands. Chosen one, you did not survive by accident. You outgrew a narrative that was never yours to carry. You did not become smaller to make others comfortable. You did not shrink to preserve their illusion. You kept going when it would have been easier to give up. You kept choosing integrity when it would have been tempting to defend yourself. And now what remains is undeniable evidence. This is where the supernatural shift begins, because when a lie collapses, it creates space. And heaven never wastes space. What they are feeling right now is not just embarrassment. It is the fear of being seen without the story they used to hide behind. The structure they built looks strong until truth touches it. Then it reveals itself as fragile, hollow, and unstable. That is why their shame feels permanent. They cannot rebuild without admitting what they did. And most people would rather sit in embarrassment than repent. Chosen one, I need you to hear this clearly. Their exposure is not your responsibility. Their discomfort is not your burden. You are not being elevated to shame them. You are being elevated because alignment has been completed. This is where divine timing intersects with divine transfer. There is a reason Scripture says that what the enemy meant for harm gets turned for good. Not just emotionally, not just spiritually, practically, tangibly, strategically. Heaven has been watching how you moved when no one applauded you, how you endured when people misread you, how you stayed honest when lying would have been easier. And now the weight of that integrity is producing something real. I have watched doors open only after reputations collapsed. I have seen financial breakthroughs come only after false narratives lost power. Because when a lie controls a room, blessings get delayed. But when truth enters alignment, returns. Chosen one, your life is becoming evidence. Evidence that endurance matters. Evidence that staying true costs something, but quitting costs more. evidence that what was said about you was never strong enough to stop what was assigned to you. This is why things are shifting now. Conversations you are not in are changing. Opportunities you did not chase are lining up. Resources you once lacked are beginning to find you. Not because you forced anything, but because heaven responds to alignment. They needed you to fail so they could feel superior. But instead, your consistency exposed their insecurity. And now the very ground they stood on is shaking. This is not revenge. This is rebalancing. Chosen one, take this as confirmation. The discomfort you feel around certain people is not intuition failing. It is intuition maturing. You are no longer meant to explain yourself in spaces that required your misrepresentation to survive. And hear this final truth for this moment: when truth stands long enough, it becomes provision. When integrity remains long enough, it becomes promotion. When obedience lasts long enough, it becomes transfer. Stay still, stay aligned. What is collapsing around you is making room for what has been reserved for you. Chosen one. What they are facing now is heavier than embarrassment. It is the realization that numbers never protected them the way they thought. They believed that agreement could replace truth, that silence could erase responsibility, that blending in would shield them from consequence. But heaven does not measure guilt the way people do. When many participate in the same distortion, the weight does not divide. It multiplies. And now that weight is pressing on them all at once. Anointed one. This is why the atmosphere feels different. What once felt like unity is now being exposed as complicity. Every nod, every quiet laugh, every moment of looking away has become part of the record. They do not need to confess with their mouths anymore. Their collective behavior already told the story. When truth entered the room, the silence became louder than any accusation ever could. I have watched this happen in real life. I have seen groups convinced they were safe because everyone agreed, only to realize later that agreement was the evidence. When truth surfaces, it does not ask who started it. It reveals who stayed in it. And that is why the discomfort feels suffocating. It is not about one mistake. It is about identity being questioned at the core. Chosen one, understand this clearly. The very thing they used to try to erase you is now exposing them. They thought strength was found in moving together, but heaven reveals systems, not just individuals. From the outside, people no longer see separate personalities. They see a pattern. They see a culture. They see a structure that decided one life was expendable for the comfort of many. This is why the shame feels inescapable. Some of them did very little, or so they told themselves. Some repeated a rumor once. Some stayed silent. Some simply did not interrupt the lie. But in the eyes of truth, the details blur. What remains is the collective outcome, and that outcome cannot be undone without humility they are not ready to carry. Chosen one, your survival is what turned their agreement into confession. If you had broken, their story would have survived. If you had disappeared, their narrative would have stood. But you are still here, breathing, growing, becoming, and your presence rewrote the entire meaning of their past actions. This is where the supernatural dimension becomes clear. Heaven does not rush exposure. It waits until evidence is undeniable. And your life became that evidence, not through argument, not through revenge, through endurance, through consistency, through refusing to become what they said you were. I want to speak to you personally here. There were moments when you questioned yourself, moments when you wondered if staying quiet was weakness, moments when you felt invisible while lies moved freely. I know that feeling. I have lived in seasons where silence felt like loss, but I learned that silence guided by wisdom is not surrender. It is strategy. Chosen one. The truth is that heaven was allowing the lie to fully form so it could fully collapse. Partial exposure would not have broken the system. Only completion could. And now what they are facing is not public embarrassment alone. It is the realization that their credibility evaporated the moment your life contradicted their story. This is where divine transfer begins to take shape. When credibility shifts, access shifts. When narratives collapse, doors realign. People who once avoided you now reassess you. Opportunities once blocked now look for another route. Resources that were withheld are released when the wrong gatekeepers lose authority. There is a verse that says, "What is done in darkness will be brought into light," but what people forget is this. Light does not just expose sin, it redistributes power, and power is what is moving toward you now. Not because you demanded it, but because truth carries weight. Chosen one. The silence that once protected them is now betraying them. Every time your name comes up, and they cannot respond, that pause speaks. Every time they look away, that movement testifies. And every time they avoid accountability, the evidence grows stronger. They cannot outrun it because it lives in memory pattern and outcome. And here is the part meant to strengthen you. You do not need to stay emotionally tied to their reckoning. You are not required to witness every collapse. You are not called to linger in places that no longer recognize your worth. Your assignment is forward, not backward. Heaven is not asking you to stay and watch them struggle. Heaven is preparing you to step into what could not exist while the lie was standing. Finances align differently when integrity is visible. Favor flows differently when character is proven. Promotion arrives when resistance loses its voice. Chosen one, let this truth anchor you. You did not lose time. You were being positioned. You were not delayed. You were being preserved. And now that the system that fed on your misrepresentation is cracking, the flow that was blocked is beginning to move. Stand still in your spirit. Do not rush to explain. Do not rush to reconnect. What is happening does not need your interference. Heaven is already handling the exposure. Your role now is alignment, obedience, and readiness for what comes next. Chosen one. What is happening now goes deeper than exposure. It reaches into the words they once spoke about you with confidence, as if they had authority over your future. They did not just doubt you quietly. They declared outcomes. They predicted failure. They spoke limits over your life as though they were prophets of your destiny. And now those words are turning back on them heavy and unavoidable. Anointed one. There is a unique kind of shame that comes from being confidently wrong, not mistaken, not uncertain, confident. They spoke as if they knew how your story would end. They spoke as if struggle was your final chapter. They spoke as if survival was beyond you. And what they are realizing now is that those words revealed far more about their own ceilings than your potential. I have seen this in my own life. There were people who spoke with certainty about where I would end up. People who assumed my quiet seasons meant weakness. People who mistook waiting for failure. And when life unfolded differently than they declared, the silence was louder than the words ever were, because nothing humbles arrogance like reality. Chosen one. Your survival did not just contradict their predictions, it exposed their blindness. They thought they were describing your future, but they were confessing their limitations. They could not imagine growth beyond their own mindset. They could not envision resilience because they had never practiced it. And when you rose, it shattered the illusion that they had insight. This is why the embarrassment feels permanent. Predictions live on. They live in memory, in old conversations, in moments people remember clearly. And now every time your life advances, it forces a comparison they cannot escape. Where they thought you would be versus where you stand now. What they said you would become versus who you are becoming. Chosen one, understand this. Heaven does not erase words spoken in arrogance. It redeems them through outcome. The very statements meant to limit you are now being used as markers of how wrong they were. And that reversal carries spiritual weight. This is where divine promotion often begins. Not when everyone believes in you, but when disbelief is proven false. Because when God lifts someone, He does not always remove the witnesses. Sometimes He transforms them into evidence. Your progress is not accidental. Every step forward is exposing the hollowness of what they claimed. Every achievement is rewriting the narrative without you saying a word. And that is why the shame cuts so deep. They did not just guess wrong. They invested pride in your downfall. I want you to pause here and feel this truth. You did not owe anyone success. You did not rise to prove them wrong. You rose because obedience kept you moving when motivation failed. You rose because discipline outlasted discouragement. You rose because something in you refused to agree with the ceiling they placed over your life. Chosen one. This is where supernatural alignment shifts into tangible transfer. Because when false authority collapses, true authority moves. When voices that once spoke against you lose credibility, new voices begin to speak for you. When predictions fail, provision replaces them. There is a reason Scripture speaks about tables prepared in the presence of enemies. It is not about revenge, it is about contrast. It is about clarity. It is about the undeniable difference between human judgment and divine intention. Your life is becoming a living courtroom, and the evidence is overwhelming. Every storm you survived, every delay you endured, every quiet season you outlasted, all of it is testifying on your behalf, and the verdict is no longer in question. Chosen one. The humiliation they feel is not something you need to manage. It is not yours to fix or soften. It exists because truth arrived on time, and truth always arrives on time, even when it feels late. Let this strengthen your faith. The same God who sustained you through misjudgment is the God releasing elevation now. The same hand that held you steady in silence is opening doors that cannot be shut. And the same life they predicted would fail is becoming the proof that destiny cannot be dictated by opinion. Stay grounded, stay humble, stay aligned. Not everyone who doubted you is meant to walk with you into what comes next. Some were only meant to witness it. And that is enough. Your rise is not loud because it needs to be. It is loud because it is real. And reality has a way of silencing every false prophecy spoken over a life chosen by heaven. Chosen one. There is a moment when laughter stops sounding harmless and starts revealing character. What once felt like jokes, side comments, and casual mockery begins to echo differently when truth stands up. Humor ages, and when it was built on cruelty, insecurity, or control, it rots. That is what they are facing now. The sound they once used to bond is becoming the sound that exposes them. Anointed one. They laughed because laughter felt safe. It felt lighter than accountability. It gave them permission to say what they would never say directly. They hid intention behind humor and called it harmless. But heaven keeps record of tone, not just words. And now those moments are replaying in the light, stripped of charm, stripped of justification, stripped of power. I have seen this shift happen quietly. People who once laughed freely suddenly grow uncomfortable when old stories resurface. Faces change, energy tightens, because laughter that was rooted in insecurity cannot survive integrity. What once felt clever now feels cruel. What once felt bonding now feels embarrassing. And there is no undoing that realization. Chosen one. This is why their shame deepens. They are not just being confronted with what they did. They are being confronted with who they were while doing it. Their laughter did not lift them. It revealed their need to feel superior. It exposed how much of their confidence depended on someone else being diminished. And now the contrast is unbearable. You stand calm, you stand composed, you stand unchanged in your spirit. While their past behavior grows louder with time, your restraint speaks without effort. You did not retaliate. You did not mirror their energy. You did not return mockery for mockery. And that choice is magnifying everything. Chosen one understand this truth deeply. Grace is not weakness. It is pressure. It forces everything around it to reveal its true nature. When cruelty meets cruelty, nothing changes. But when cruelty meets dignity, it collapses under its own weight. This is where divine authority becomes visible, not in volume, in consistency. You kept your character intact while being misunderstood. You kept your spirit clean while being misrepresented. And now their laughter, once used as a shield, has become the loudest evidence against them. They thought humor could protect them from consequence. They believed jokes would blur memory. But memory sharpens when truth appears. What once felt forgettable now feels permanent. And that permanence is what they cannot escape. Chosen one, let me speak from experience here. There were seasons when I watched people laugh at moments that were sacred to me. I watched pain be turned into entertainment, and for a while I wondered if staying gracious cost too much. But time taught me something invaluable. Laughter fades, character compounds. You are living proof of that now. As you remain unbroken, their laughter decays. As you rise without bitterness, their humor loses credibility. And as you continue forward without needing to explain yourself, their past behavior becomes the explanation. This is also where supernatural transfer quietly takes place, because when mockery loses power, authority shifts. People who once felt comfortable dismissing you begin to reassess you. They may never say it out loud, but perception changes, and perception governs access. Opportunities respond to dignity. Favor gravitates toward restraint. Resources flow where integrity is visible, not because you chase them, but because the noise that blocked them has been silenced. Chosen one. This is not about them feeling ashamed. This is about you being freed. Freed from needing approval, freed from defending your story, freed from carrying the emotional residue of what was never yours to hold. Their laughter turned inward because it had nowhere else to go, and your grace turned outward because it was never dependent on their reaction. Let this truth anchor you. You did not survive by hardening your heart. You survived by keeping it aligned, and that alignment is what heaven rewards. Not immediately, inevitably. As their jokes age into regret, your life matures into testimony. As their mockery becomes evidence, your consistency becomes inheritance. And as their voices lose influence, your path clears without force. Stay steady, chosen one. What feels quiet right now is not stagnation, it is recalibration. Heaven is adjusting weight, authority, and flow. You are not late, you are not overlooked, you are being positioned beyond the reach of what once tried to define you. And as you move forward, remember this: laughter fades, truth remains, and grace, when held long enough, always outlives cruelty. Chosen one. There comes a moment when embarrassment turns into something far heavier than social discomfort. It becomes moral weight. What they are facing now is not just exposure, but the realization that they protected the wrong things and punished the right ones. They are confronting the truth that comfort mattered more to them than integrity, and conformity mattered more than justice. That realization does not fade quickly because it reaches into the conscience. Anointed one. They were not all loud, but they were present. Some spoke, some agreed. Some stayed silent because silence felt safer than standing up. They told themselves it was not their fight, not their responsibility, not their place. But heaven records choices, not excuses. And now those choices are returning not as accusations, but as undeniable awareness. I have seen how this unfolds in real life. People convince themselves that staying neutral keeps their hands clean, only to realize later that neutrality still leaves fingerprints. When harm happens openly and silence surrounds it, silence becomes participation. That is the truth many are wrestling with now, and it is why the shame feels suffocating. Chosen one. Your presence exposed this without you saying a word. Your survival forced a comparison they never expected to make. They stood with systems that benefited them, and those systems collapsed. You stood with truth when it cost you, and truth sustained you. That contrast is not theoretical anymore, it is visible. This is where heaven intervenes quietly but decisively. When false alliances are exposed, authority is redistributed. When people realize they defended manipulation instead of righteousness, access changes, favor moves, influence shifts, and often so does provision. There is a reason spiritual promotion often follows seasons of injustice. Not because pain is required, but because endurance reveals alignment. You did not compromise your values to survive. You did not trade your conscience for acceptance, and heaven does not overlook that. Chosen one, understand this deeply. You were not spared because you were lucky. You were preserved because you stayed aligned when misalignment was easier. And now the very people who once felt powerful by association are realizing that association does not protect when truth arrives. They thought protecting certain figures' behaviors or narratives would shield them from consequence. But what they protected poisoned the environment. What they excused weakened the foundation. And now that foundation is cracking under its own weight. Your life, however, is standing firm, not because it was perfect, but because it was honest, not because it was loud, but because it was rooted. And that is why your future is opening, while theirs feels restricted. This is not about revenge. This is about realignment. Heaven is not asking you to watch them struggle. Heaven is inviting you to step forward without carrying what was never yours. Their guilt is theirs to process. Their reckoning is theirs to face. I want to speak to you personally here. There were moments when you wondered if anyone would ever see what was really happening. Moments when you felt unseen, unsupported, or unfairly judged. I know that ache. I know how heavy it feels to be right and still be alone, but time has a way of partnering with truth. Now what was hidden is visible. What was excused is undeniable. And what was ignored is being questioned. This is where divine transfer often begins. When moral clarity returns, doors that were blocked begin to open. When truth reclaims space, blessing follows naturally, not as a reward for suffering, but as a response to alignment. You may notice changes that feel subtle at first. Conversations shifting, attitudes softening, opportunities appearing where resistance once lived. Do not dismiss these movements. They are signs that the environment is recalibrating around you. Chosen one, you are not meant to carry bitterness into this next season. Bitterness ties you to what is ending. Clarity frees you to step into what is beginning. Let go of the need to be understood by those who chose comfort over courage. Heaven has already seen you. Heaven has already measured your endurance, and heaven is already responding. As others wrestle with the weight of their choices, you are being released from the weight of misunderstanding. As they confront what they protected, you are stepping into what you preserved. And that shift is not symbolic. It is practical. It is tangible. It is unfolding. Stay grounded. Stay humble. Stay aligned. You do not need to announce your growth. Your life will speak for itself. And as it does, the very truth they avoided will become the foundation you stand on. This is not the end of a story, it is the correction of one, and correction always precedes increase. Chosen one. There is a humiliation that comes not from being exposed by enemies, but from being confronted by something that cannot be copied. Authenticity. What you carry cannot be manufactured, rehearsed, or performed, and that is why it unsettles those who built their lives on image instead of truth. They are not ashamed because you succeeded. They are ashamed because you remained real while they performed. Anointed one, you did not survive by becoming someone else. You survived by refusing to become less. Every step you took came from alignment, not approval. Every decision you made was rooted in what was right, not what was popular. And now the contrast is undeniable. While you move from reality, they move from pretense, and pretense collapses when truth enters the room. I've watched this dynamic unfold quietly. People who mastered performance can impress for a season, but they cannot sustain peace. Their kindness depends on audience. Their loyalty shifts with advantage. Their morality bends based on who is watching. But authenticity does not fluctuate. It stands, it breathes, it remains consistent when no one is clapping. Chosen one. This is why your presence alone is unsettling to them. You do not argue. You do not explain. You do not need to defend who you are. And that absence of performance exposes everything they rely on. They cannot negotiate with authenticity. They cannot outmaneuver it. They cannot control it. And that lack of control is what they feel as humiliation. This is where divine authority becomes visible again. Heaven does not promote image. Heaven promotes alignment. And alignment attracts provision naturally. People trust what is real. Opportunities follow what is consistent. Resources move toward what is stable. You're experiencing this shift not because you demanded it, but because authenticity creates gravitational pull. Chosen one, understand this truth deeply. You were never meant to fit their mold. Their mold was built to limit, not to nurture. It was designed to reward conformity, not growth. And when you refused to shrink, it revealed how small the structure truly was. This is why their embarrassment feels physical. They spent years trying to define you, contain you, and frame you within their limited imagination, and now your life refuses to cooperate with that story. Every victory you experience highlights their miscalculation. Every step forward reveals their superficiality. I want to speak personally here. There were seasons when staying authentic felt costly, moments when it seemed easier to adapt, to blend, to perform just enough to be accepted. I know that pressure. But every time I chose truth over convenience, it created a foundation that later carried me when performance would have collapsed. Chosen one, your foundation is holding now, and because it is holding heaven, is releasing more weight onto it. This is how supernatural transfer works. Increase follows stability. Expansion follows integrity. Promotion follows alignment. You may notice that attention is coming to you without effort. Respect is arriving without demand. Influence is growing without force. This is authenticity at work. It does not chase recognition. Recognition finds it. And for those watching from the outside, the humiliation intensifies. They cannot replicate what you carry. They cannot copy your peace. They cannot fake your consistency, and every attempt they make only highlights the difference further. Chosen. 1. This is not about superiority. This is about sustainability. Performance burns out. Authenticity endures, and heaven always invests in what endures. Let this truth free you from the need to prove anything. You do not need to convince people of your worth. Your life is already speaking. You do not need to manage their discomfort. Their discomfort is the result of living out of alignment. As this season unfolds, you will feel a deeper sense of clarity. Fewer explanations, cleaner boundaries, stronger discernment. This is not isolation. This is refinement. Heaven is narrowing what has access to you because what you carry is increasing. Chosen one, remain grounded, remain honest, remain aligned. The same authenticity that unsettled them is the same authenticity that will sustain what is coming, and what is coming will require stability, not performance. You are not rising because you are flawless. You are rising because you are real, and in a world built on image, reality is power. Chosen one. There is another layer to what is being exposed now, and it reaches beyond individuals into the structure itself. What you walked away from or were pushed out of was not just a group of people. It was a system that thrived on obedience instead of truth. It rewarded compliance and punished discernment. And the moment you refused to kneel, that system began to crack. Anointed one, they called it unity, but it was control. They called it loyalty, but it was fear. They called it tradition, but it was stagnation. Everyone was expected to think the same, speak the same, and move the same. Questions were seen as threats. Independence was labeled rebellion. And for a long time, that structure survived because no one challenged it. Except you did, not loudly, not dramatically, but consistently. You did not echo what felt wrong in your spirit. You did not repeat narratives that violated your conscience. You did not bend your identity to fit their comfort, and that quiet resistance exposed the fragility of the entire system. I have seen this pattern before. Groups that depend on agreement cannot tolerate clarity. Systems built on fear collapse when someone stands calmly and refuses to comply. You did not need to fight the structure. Your refusal to kneel revealed it for what it was. Chosen one. This is why their embarrassment feels collective. Once the illusion breaks, everyone sees it. The nods, the synchronized silence, the repeated phrases, the unspoken rules. What once felt normal now looks irrational. What once felt strong now appears brittle. And there is no way to unsee it. They believed numbers made them untouchable. They thought moving together guaranteed safety. But unity without truth is not strength. It is dependency. And when dependency is exposed, authority dissolves. Your independence did not just protect your integrity, it dismantled their hierarchy. Because when one person steps outside a controlled narrative and survives, it proves the narrative was never absolute. And once that proof exists, power shifts. Chosen one, hear this carefully. You were never meant to be controlled by environments that required you to shrink. Heaven never intended for your obedience to be directed toward fear. True obedience produces freedom, not bondage. And when you chose alignment over acceptance, heaven backed that decision. This is why their humiliation feels permanent. Systems can adapt to rebellion, but they cannot adapt to clarity. They can punish confrontation, but they cannot punish calm conviction. Your steady presence dismantled the illusion that obedience was sacred and control was justified. I want to speak from experience here. I have watched structures crumble, not because someone attacked them, but because someone stopped feeding them. When you stop participating in dysfunction, it loses oxygen. And that is exactly what happened when you refuse to kneel. Chosen one. This is not just about what collapsed behind you. It is about what is opening ahead of you. When false authority loses influence, true authority emerges. When control fades, calling becomes clearer. When fear loses grip, provision finds movement. You may notice that environments that once intimidated you no longer hold weight. That voices that once carried authority sound hollow now. That pressure to conform feels weaker. This is not arrogance. This is discernment sharpening. Heaven is repositioning you away from systems that cannot support your growth. And this repositioning is essential for what is coming next. You cannot carry increase into spaces that depend on your limitation. Chosen one. Your courage did more than protect you. It exposed how fragile control really is, and now others see it too. Even if they never admit it, the awareness has been planted. Questions are forming. Doubt is creeping in. The structure is unstable, but this is not your responsibility to manage. You are not called to dismantle what you have already outgrown. You are called to move forward without dragging the past with you. Let this truth anchor you. You were not difficult. You were discerning. You were not rebellious. You were aligned. You were not disobedient. You were awake. And awakening always disrupts systems built on sleep. As you step forward, heaven is preparing spaces that do not require you to kneel, dilute, or disappear. Spaces where clarity is valued, where authenticity is honored, where growth is supported. Remain steady. Chosen one. What collapsed behind you had to fall so you could walk freely into what is ahead. And what lies ahead will not demand your submission to fear, only your alignment with truth. Chosen one. There is one final layer that brings everything into focus, and it is the one they cannot escape. The next generation is watching. Children notice what adults normalize. They hear tones, observe reactions, and sense injustice long before they have language for it. And now they are asking questions that no one prepared answers for. Anointed one, nothing exposes a system faster than a child asking why. Why was that person treated differently? Why did everyone stay quiet? Why did no one step in? Those questions cut deeper than accusation because they come without agenda. They are honest, and honesty dismantles denial. I have seen this moment arrive quietly. Adults grow uneasy when younger eyes begin to see clearly, because children do not inherit excuses easily. They connect dots adults learn to ignore. They repeat what they notice, and once they see unfairness, they do not forget it. Chosen one. This is why the shame has become permanent. It is no longer contained within memory. It has entered legacy. The very image they tried to protect is dissolving in front of the ones they hoped would never question it. and no explanation feels sufficient anymore. This is where heaven's timing becomes undeniable. Exposure is not only about correction, it is about prevention. What is revealed now cannot be repeated later without consequence. And your life played a role in that revelation simply by existing in truth. Outsiders are watching as well. People with no emotional attachment, no shared history, no incentive to protect the lie. They see the pattern clearly, and that external witness removes the last layer of protection. What was once private is now visible. What was once excused is now obvious. Chosen one, understand this. When truth leaves a closed room and enters open space, it cannot be controlled. And once the world sees clearly, there is no return to normal. Silence no longer works. Denial no longer convinces. And reputation can no longer be managed. This is why silence itself is being exposed. Those who believed doing nothing kept them safe are realizing that neutrality carried weight. Every moment of inaction reinforced harm. Every quiet agreement empowered injustice. And that realization does not fade with time. I want to speak personally here. There were moments when you felt abandoned, when silence hurt more than words, when you wondered if anyone noticed the absence of defense. I know that pain. But silence has a way of revealing itself eventually, and when it does, it speaks loudly. Chosen. 1. This is not about punishment, it is about consequence, and consequence is simply truth catching up to behavior. Heaven is not harsh, heaven is precise. As all of this unfolds, your role is not to linger, it is to move forward cleanly. You are not called to explain, justify, or reopen wounds. You are called to walk into what alignment has prepared. This is where supernatural transfer completes its movement. When false authority collapses, true provision flows. When systems lose credibility, new pathways open. When reputations fall, assignments rise. Your life has become evidence, evidence that endurance matters, evidence that truth survives pressure, evidence that alignment outlasts manipulation. And evidence does not argue, it simply exists. Chosen. 1. Let go of the weight of being understood by those who chose comfort over courage. Let go of the need for acknowledgement from systems you outgrew. Heaven has already recorded what mattered. As you step into what is next, carry clarity, not resentment. Carry gratitude, not grief. Carry humility, not hesitation. What is ahead requires lightness. Their shame is not your inheritance. Their embarrassment is not your responsibility. Your future is not tied to their reckoning. You did not just survive, you became proof. And proof changes environments without effort. Stand tall, stay aligned, and move forward knowing this. What was exposed behind you has cleared the way ahead. And what awaits you now is not reaction. It is reward. Remain steady in faith and grounded in wisdom. Heaven is not finished. What feels like an ending is alignment, completing its work, preparing you to receive with open hands what once could not reach you safely or remain contained. Chosen. 1. As this sacred moment comes to rest, breathe deeply and receive what heaven has already begun. You are not leaving this space the same way you entered it. Something has shifted, something has aligned. The weight you carried is lifting and the clarity you prayed for is settling into place. This is not emotional movement. This is divine confirmation. Anointed One, you are standing in your Kairos moment, your appointed time. What was hidden has been revealed. What was blocked is now opening. What was delayed is moving again. A supernatural transfer is already in motion, not because you forced it, but because you remained aligned when it mattered most. Heaven saw your endurance. Heaven honored your integrity, and now heaven responds. May peace guard your mind. May favor surround your steps. May provision meet you where you stand, and may courage rise within you for what is coming next. Stay faithful, even when the path feels quiet. Stay aligned, even when others do not understand. Gratitude will keep your heart open for what is about to manifest. Chosen one, do not look back with bitterness. Look ahead with expectancy. What tried to diminish you has lost its voice. What tried to delay you has lost its authority. You are not late. You are right on time. If your spirit was stirred, let your response be sacred. A quiet comment, a shared word, a simple act of agreement. Remain connected, remain watchful, remain receptive. This space is for the called, the refined, the rising. Go now in clarity. Walk in confidence and receive what has already been released in your name. Amen.